I really only thought of nature as what's here on Earth. I did not think of the stars and the planets. I thought of them as out there. It illuminates how disconnected we feel from our essence, from who we are. The closer we get to nature in all its forms, the more we're coming into our own nature. When I first moved to Hawaii, nature was kind of scary to me. Like, I had romantic visions of being in nature, but actually being in nature, that was scary to me. And I see that as a metaphor of like the wilderness within me that was also scary for me at the time to go deep into, because what are you going to find? What's hidden in the dark forest, right? And that feels overwhelming and scary. So the process of embracing nature itself was an exact mirror of me going deeper and deeper into my own nature. Well, even if you look at the type of places that get created for tourism, it's perfectly manicured. It's perfectly tamed. But the amount of energy required to create that type of environment is astounding. And so again, I see it as a reflection. It's like we're afraid to see the messy inside. Like, I feel a little bit like a cheerleader. Like, okay, you guys, we can do this.
Yeah.
We can do this. We came here to play. We are here, alive, incarnate, right now, in this freaking messy middle. Why? Because we came here to contribute something. This isn't random that you're here at this time. So to me, it's like, let's go. Let's embrace it. Whatever it is that's yours to do it.
Welcome to the Enchanted Earth Podcast, where you will hear stories of nature with the power to transform our lives. These sacred stories are begging to be shared now. So listen in as my guest today shares one of their own. Did you know that this podcast was inspired by my book, The Enchanted Earth? I'll put a link in the show notes so you can get a copy of your own. So now, everybody, I would love to turn our attention to our conversation with Amanda Walsh, who's founder of Astrology Hub and author of a new book, Life by the Stars. So welcome back, Amanda.
Oh, thank you, Maureen. I'm so happy to be here.
I just want to say that Astrology Hub has been a real lifesaver, starting back at the end of 2019. And I remember you were doing like a look forward for 2020 and had some wonderful astrologers on there talking about like major life shifts happening over the course of the next decade, really. And here we are in 2026. Wow. Did we ever think?
No. And I think what we could see then was a huge energetic like tsunami, We could see, the astrologers could see that. But the content, the actual stories are impossible to know. And we've been living in them. Collectively, we've been living in them since 2020. Individually, we all have our own story and experience of the last 6 years. But yeah, it's huge times that we're living through. And I often find that it's helpful to just remind ourselves of that. Like, if it feels like a lot, if it feels overwhelming, if it feels like nothing is super stable or dependable anymore, it is actually the time that we're in. And you can see that energetically in the astrology of this decade, like you said, that we're living through. And so it's not that you're going crazy. It's not that you're imagining it. It is actually what's happening. And it's happening by design. Like there's a deeper intelligence underneath it.
That's what I love, to tune into your podcast, to understand things at a much higher perspective. I know I've been studying astrology since I'm like 12, and it was all really for most of those years, just my own personal transits and who am I and learning about myself. But these times require us to have that higher perspective of what's going on. And I'm just so grateful to your astrologers and for you for creating that podcast.
Thank you. I love that you're listening.
Oh, yeah. And so the Life by the Stars, I was looking back and you were on this podcast back in September 2024. And I remember in our conversation, you said, I've got this book that I'm starting to write, and it's, starting to gel a little bit. And I'm just so delighted to have you back now that it's actually out and published.
Oh my gosh, yes. It has been such a process. And really, I started embarking on the writing a book path in 2019. And it totally changed what the actual book is. Like my idea evolved and became something very new, but it has been something alive in me since 2019, since before all the changes that we've been experiencing globally. So I too am so thrilled that it's actually a thing now. It's out in the world. It's people are reading the stories and connecting with the stories, and it just makes my heart so happy.
And I really love, well, first of all, the cover of the book. It is so beautiful, so perfect. And I can just imagine the photo shoot for that.
Every time I look at that cover, I am just filled with so much delight at how it all turned out, how it all came together. When you have something on your screensaver, as I've been in the process of being pregnant with and birthing this book, I've had the cover as my screensaver just to help manifest it into being. And it just makes me, it perfectly encapsulates the essence of the story and the essence of the message. And that's why I'm so happy with the way that it turned out. And I also love, it feels very beautiful to me. I ever since I got into being God, what am I? A steward, a cheerleader of astrology. I mean, whatever, I don't know what I am, but ever since I started that in 2015, it has been really important to me that astrology be presented in a way that feels substantial, legitimate, connected to nature and earth, like not just something out there in the sky that's disconnected from us, but something that we're experiencing here on earth in the body, which at the time, whenever I would look at anything astrological, it felt very ungrounded.
Yes.
Because you can think about you would think it kind of is ungrounded because it's space, but it's not ungrounded because if it was, I wouldn't even be that interested in it. If it was only out there, if it was only up there. But for me, it's always about how is up there, out there, connecting with us in here. And as we know, Maureen, as astrology lovers, it is a direct mirror.
Mm.
There is actually no difference between within and without. So that is why I love when an image comes together that can so beautifully illustrate that. And that's why I just, the book cover it was one of those like, oh my God, yes.
Yes. So there's a few things that you just said. It just, I have to make a little commentary. So you talked about making astrology grounded, and your sun is in Capricorn, which
My
is,
Mercury and my
a very strong earth sign.
Yes. Go figure. That was my
And I love that. I love that. And I think that is what makes you so, I think, successful with Astrology Hub, because you're really putting a structure and framework around something that feels a little too ungrounded for many people. But also the fact that it is us, right? It's all like unity consciousness. What's above, so below. And, it's all one. And like you said, it's a mirror of us. Um, you know, I do feng shui, which is very grounded, of course, has astrology as part of it, but it tends to focus on the earth. And, it's seeing that the earth, our land, our homes are a mirror reflection of us.
Mm.
So astrology is also showing that the skies are a mirror reflection of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just all one.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And I want to thank you and Gemini Brett were my first interviews that touched on astrology as it comes to nature connection, because, when we think of nature connection, we think of connecting the tree, a landscape, but not so much the sky. So I really loved incorporating that into, like, again, as I said, everything is one. It's unity consciousness, and we're all part of nature. So I think your stories have just added just such a wonderful addition to this podcast.
Thanks, Maureen. I mean, I think I've told you the story of that aha moment I had. I was probably interviewing someone on a podcast, and the aha moment that felt so groundbreaking to me was, oh my gosh, the stars and the planets are nature too. Like, it's kind of like, of course they are now when I look back on it, but I really only thought of nature as what's here on Earth. I really thought of the trees and the flowers and the plants and the rocks, but I did not think of the stars and the planets. Well, the planets are stars, they're wandering stars, but I didn't think of them as nature. I thought of them as out there. And I really feel that that is a reflection of the disconnect so many of us feel for ourselves, with ourselves. The fact that we feel like there's things out there in there, it illuminates how disconnected we feel from our essence, from who we are. And the closer we, as you probably know very tangibly, the closer we get to nature in all its forms, the more we're coming into our own nature. And it's this simultaneous process. I moved from Manhattan to Hawaii now 15 years ago.
Wow.
And I felt very disconnected from my essence in New York. And when I first moved to Hawaii, nature was kind of scary to me. Like, I had romantic visions of being in nature, but actually being in nature, there's bugs, it's dirty, all those things. That was scary to me. And I see that as a metaphor of like the wilderness within me that was also scary for me at the time to go deep into. Because what are you going to find? What's there? What's hidden in the dark forest, right? And that feels overwhelming and scary. So the process of embracing nature itself was an exact mirror of me going deeper and deeper into my own nature and becoming more comfortable in my own nature.
I love that. I think that is such a good lesson for all of us. I think there's so much disconnection from nature. I know we all understand that, but it's disconnected from the wildness within us. I love how you just shared that with us. There is that direct analogy between that level of discomfort and disconnection.
Well, even if you look at the type of places that get created for tourism, for example, in Hawaii, we can use that as an example because it's perfectly manicured. It's perfectly tamed. They are like making sure there's no weird bugs showing up in your hotel room. I totally get it because I was the person coming to visit Hawaii and I would have freaked out if there was a cane spider in my room or a cockroach or something. You know what I'm saying? But the amount of energy required to create that type of environment is astounding. And when, like, in the quote unquote real nature of Hawaii, it's way, way more wild. I mean, it isn't perfect. It isn't lined up. And this is true everywhere, right? This is true of everything. And so again, I see it as this reflection. It's like we're afraid to see the messy inside.
Wow.
And that's not a judgment. That doesn't make anyone wrong or bad. It's just there is an invitation into some wilderness that might be uncomfortable, might not look pretty all the time, but there is a different kind of beauty to it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh, yes, yes. And I do see that so often with people's homes too, with the land that we live on, that
Mm.
we are borrowing
Mm.
from the earth, that it's so manicured and so the facade is so slick. And yet, what's underneath that? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's some beauty to that too. Like, I love walking into a garden that's just like, so beautifully tended. I mean, there's a place for all of it, right? There
Yes.
really is.
Yes.
And it's, again, just drawing the metaphor of connecting to all faces of nature is the process of connecting to all faces of ourselves,
Yes.
right? And that to me is one of the beautiful things of astrology because you get to go deeper and deeper into these different layers and facets of yourself and learn to love it all. We all have our things. We all have things that we're proud of. We all have things that are like, oh, that's kind of embarrassing or whatever it is. But just learning to embrace all of it, I think, is where we can love each other better. We can love ourselves better. We can, you know, really be here without trying to be anywhere or anyone else. And that's not to say you don't ever work on yourself and you don't take a shower and like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's such extremes to what
Yeah.
where this could be taken, but you're getting the essence, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so much of our lives is saying, well, if we don't do this, we have to do
Yeah,
this. And it's
totally.
like, it's hard to see the middle sometimes. Or, the non-dual way of living, just, it's all integrated in all one.
There's a word in Hawaiian that I love so much, and it's ho'oponopono. But it means to make right more right, acknowledging that everything already is in perfect order, is in perfect design, and we can make it even more right. Like to make right more right. We contribute, we participate, we steward, like you said. We do that. And it's already all perfect. So it's like both and. So not having to go to the extreme of it's all a mess or it's all perfect. It's like, no, it's all right. You're right. I'm right. Everyone listening's right or watching. And we get to make it even more right.
Wow. Beautiful. That's another layer to Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. There's a lot of meanings of that word. I know a lot of people associate it with I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, which can be said in different orders. The way that I learned it was from a Hawaiian kahuna on the Big Island who was teaching us about the Ho'oponopono process that the indigenous Hawaiians would use for conflict resolution, where they would circle up, they would breathe together, they would share each individually. There was a facilitator who, if things got out of love, quote unquote, they would stop and everyone would stop and breathe again and reset. And this was a way that conflict was resolved. And it's like, whoa, beautiful. And we would probably benefit from implementing some of that into our world.
I'm thinking, yes, I want more of that.
Yes.
My life. But
Yeah.
yeah, start in our own lives.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we can do.
Beautiful. So a couple of questions. In your book, you share about kind of like a really big wake-up call, really big shift in your life when you were living in Manhattan. And, I think so many of us can resonate with that experience. We get on the track of the American dream. You can have it all. We can have a really powerful career. We can pursue our passion. We can be the greatest mother. We can do all this. And then it comes to a point where it's like, it's not happening for some of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit about that experience? I know you were in Central Park, I think, with your daughter and.
Yeah. Not Central Park, a different park in Tribeca, but yes. So basically, I mean, it was really a series of events and there are like climax moments within the series. So this one moment, it was, I was working 80 hours a week. We had a nanny almost full time for my daughter at the time, who was in this story, she's about 2. And so, but I had this one afternoon where I had a break and I was like, oh, I'll take Madeline to the park. So I bundled her up. It was winter. It was freezing. We went down my like beautiful luxury apartment elevator, went out the doors, and there was the crosswalk lady. And she looked at Madeline, who she clearly knew because she would see Madeline daily. And she looked at Madeline and said, oh, hi, honey. Where's your mommy today? And I went, oh my God. My heart sank because it was just so clear. She thought the nanny was Madeline's mom because that's who was always with Madeline. So that was this moment of just like sheer heartbreak. Then we go to the park. She's playing on the jungle gym or, running around. And I'm on my BlackBerry the whole time. BlackBerry at the time. This shows how long ago this story happened. And I'm just totally multitasking, which was very normal. I looked around and I saw a bunch of other adults multitasking, all of us kind of paying attention to our children, but also engaged in our work. I noticed that most of the kids, if they were parents, those were few and far between. The rest of them were nannies. The kids were calling by their first names. It was there weren't a whole lot of parents there, and the other parents that were there were just like me. We got back to the apartment. I traded my husband at the time, and I passed the parenting baton on to him, and I went right back to work. I dropped my BlackBerry on the couch, and the next thing I knew, I looked up. Madeline shouts, "Mommy!" And I look at her. She takes the BlackBerry and she hucks it across the room. Literally, this tiny little body takes this device and hurls it across the room. It skids across the floor. I'm, of course, just like freaking out about my phone. But then I look at her eyes. I look at her defiance. I look at her. She was so angry. There was so much emotion coming out of her. This little tiny thing. And again, I broke. I just broke open. I went and I hugged her and I cried and we cried. And I just promised her in that moment, things are going to change. I promise things are going to change. It took another like year and a half probably before we actually made, no, not quite a year from that moment before we actually made the leap and left. Just kind of like literally blew up our life because there was no kind of like middle ground for me at that time. There was no like, oh, I can just kind of like cut back at work, or I was an owner of the company. I was like so far deep on this path that I was on that it felt impossible to just kind of moderate. And that's kind of how I do things, So I basically made the decision. A lot of things had to fall into place. Gave back my ownership of the company, sold everything we owned. We had a house in California at the time as well. So, so it was a big process, but then eventually made the leap and really started over without a super clear plan. I mean, I had a plan. I thought my plan was pretty sound, but looking back, I'm like, oh my God. Like, first of all, I had no idea what was awaiting on the other side of that move. But also the plan was really flimsy. And you know what? It's okay. It's okay. Like it needed to happen that way. And all the events that unfolded from that point, truly, so many uncomfortable moments. Talk about the uncomfortableness of my own nature and like getting to know myself. And in a way, because I'd built up a whole facade. I'd built up all the roles I'd played, all the successes I had, all the trappings that seemed important, that once we came over here, they were no longer important. Nobody cared at all what I had done, what I had run, what accomplishments I had. I mean, it was, who are you? Like, and what do you have? What are you all about? And what do you have to give? And yeah, who are you for real? And so that question became a guiding force. I mean, that question was a guiding force since I was 10. I looked in the mirror and it was, who are you? Like, who are you really? And that question has guided a quest throughout my whole life that eventually led to astrology, which is crazy. Like that completely shocked and surprised me. But, I explored all the world religions, and I was 13 years Catholic school. And then I did psychology. I thought maybe the answer was in psychology, all these places where I was really looking for like, who are you really? Right? So anyways, I got to begin the process of understanding the answer to that question after moving to Hawaii and my life basically falling apart on tons of levels, many levels.
Yeah. Wow. It's listening to that call, just listening to those hidden moments that are calling us to make changes in our lives. It's really brave. Really brave.
It is like scary. It's scary. And one thing that I've really come to believe through experience is that we are actually held through it all, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when it's not obvious, even when it feels like we've been, one of the questions I had when we were still in New York, because I read it in a book, two things. I read leap and the net will appear. And I was like, oh, wow, is that true? Like, if you really leap, is the net going to appear? And like, does it always appear? Do some people like lay splattered on the ground, or does it always appear? Right. And then the other one from Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss and doors will open where they were otherwise closed. And I was like, that sounds amazing. Like, again, is it true though? Like, is it actually true? And there was something in me that like needed to prove this for myself. It was like not going to be enough to have these really wise, amazing human beings who walked before me tell me that. Like, I had to do it myself, right? So there were times in the many years that followed that move to Hawaii where I felt like they were wrong. The net didn't appear and all the doors seemed closed. But what I realize now is there's like this time element that we don't control.
Yep.
And when they were saying those things, they were looking back on a lifetime in which they can now truly see that it was actually true. But in the messy middle, when things are unraveling and we're having to let go of things that are not in alignment with the quote unquote bliss, it is not comfortable. It does not feel good. It can look really messy and heartbreaking and devastating, right? And then underneath it is this trust that life is happening for you, that there is this refinement, there is this cultivation that is happening. And if you really did say yes to understanding and knowing and living your true essence, you're going to get there. It just might take some time and it won't always be comfortable. So that is where the like quote unquote bravery comes in. But see, Maureen, I can't even claim bravery because I didn't know. Because I didn't know that it was going to be like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's if anybody does tarot cards, you know the fool in the deck.
Yes.
That is me because I just like whistled off into the future. Like I had visions of dolphins and rainbows and Hawaii beaches. And I thought I was following my bliss and doors were going to open and yay, end of story. Of course, that is not what happened at all. But again, it's like I can see in retrospect, as we can so often with our lives, it was all so divinely orchestrated and so divinely exactly what needed to happen. And yes, there's a series of yeses that happen along the way. And there was a period of time where I was in the middle of what felt like a raging river. And I was looking back going, can I get back there? And I was looking forward going, I don't know if I'll ever make it there. But it was so obvious. The only way was through. Like I had to go through. So yeah. And to me, this is a little bit of like, not a little bit, it is an archetypal, universal signature of transformation.
Yeah. The hero's journey.
Exactly. The heroine's journey. I wish there was a better word, but
yeah,
you know, it is just part of the journey itself. But again, like if you go, let's say you're riding a roller coaster and it's scary at times and then it's exhilarating at times. And then it's like, you know, even getting on it, you're so scared to do it. And then you do it. And then it's like, I want to do it again. Because you're held. I mean, for the most part, the odds of you really getting hurt on a roller coaster, yes, it could happen, but like it's very, 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 very statistically small, right? The thing with life is it's basically that roller coaster.
Yeah.
And so how do you want to experience it? And not everybody came to experience it to be a thrill seeker. Not everybody came here for that. And that's where I love astrology, because it's not like I'm trying to say everyone should do what I did. No way. That I knew that was part of my path, but everyone needs to follow their path, whatever that is. My mom is a great example. Her path in this life, and you can see it so clearly in her birth chart, her astrology chart, was to be a mother, the best mother that she could be. She has 4 children, all of us. She stayed home. She raised us. She's now a grandmother. And she is like the ultimate matriarch. She's amazing. And she loved it. That's what she came here to do. I didn't have that like her. I'm very different than her. I appreciate so much the gift that she gave me in her motherhood. But I always knew that I would be working. Like that was always part. I was sitting on my dad's lap. He's an entrepreneur. When I was a little girl, asking him question after question after question about business. And I have 3 brothers. They were never doing that. I was doing that because that's part of my
record.
That's part of my design. So much of this is just embracing who we actually are and not trying to be who we think we should be or who we see comparing us to others and what they're doing. And that to me is such the gift and the blessing of astrology, is that it shows us visually, mathematically, that we are as unique as our fingerprints. No one else came here to do, be, and experience what you came to do, be, and experience. So getting intimate with what that is, and saying yes to what that is, and following the breadcrumbs where that leads, to me is when you feel the most alive, when you feel the most fulfilled, not meaning fulfilled because you have a certain amount of money in the bank account, or not that fulfillment, that soul level fulfillment, the kind where you are at your last breath going, I lived, I came here and I did it, I lived my life, whatever that looks like.
Oh, yeah. So beautiful. And, as we were talking about that arc of the roller coaster and being in that middle where you can't go back, but you got to go forward, but do you
Yeah.
have the strength to go forward and follow
Yeah.
through is really a great kind of a segue into where we are as a collective.
Yes.
We're in that messy, messy, messy place.
Talk
So
about the messy middle.
we're in that messy middle, everybody together.
We are.
And, it's so true that not everybody, I mean, none of us are comfortable in that, but some of us can thrive a little bit in that.
It's true.
We get excited and we're like, oh, we don't know what's around that corner and it's exciting. And other people will be like, batten down the hatches.
Yes.
Stay here, stay firm, do what you've always done. And,
Yes.
so it's really interesting that as you've learned about astrology in your own life, how do you support others in your family and friends, like kind of with that and the different levels of awareness or ability to be comfortable with change?
Well, that's such a great question. I mean, honestly, Maureen, regardless of design, I think a collective invitation of this moment is to become as comfortable as possible as we can with change. I really do. And you're right. For some people, that's way easier than for other people. And the reason, first of all, permanence is an illusion anyways, period. Like, it just is. It's an illusion. We're just seeing it more clearly now. It always was.
Yes.
But now we really get to see it. And when I think about nature, nature is always changing. It's always evolving. It's always like there is no permanence, So we are becoming more aligned with the truth and with our nature and with nature. And in that is change. And so I think on whatever level a person is capable of embracing that, which, yes, you're right, there's going to be the ones that are like, bring it on. That's very different than like, okay, fine, I'll do this. Like, I get it. Okay, I will start to soften my grip. I will take baby steps wherever I can to change things up in my daily routine. Maybe I brush my teeth with a different hand and see how that feels. There's baby steps that can be taken for people that are just like overwhelmed by the amount of change. But you and I both know, Maureen, that the cosmic waves right now, the waves of the ocean that are energetic, that we're riding right now, are only accelerating in the speed of change. So if I was talking to a family member or a friend and they have a hard time with that, first of all, I acknowledge you. It is hard. It's hard for everybody, even if you're more wired towards it. It's hard because we don't know. It's the unknown, and what's on the other side of that change. It's scary. However, we're participating in it. It isn't happening to us. So if everything is changing anyways, do you want to be just like battered around by the changes, or do you want to contribute to them? And what is yours to contribute? Because you do have something to contribute. And it could be as simple as you smile at every person that passes by you. That could be your thing. It could be that you sit in meditation for 20 minutes a day and you send the world love. That's what you're contributing. I mean, it doesn't have to look like we think, like an activist, like
Right.
those are things I feel that keep people feeling small, even though their contribution is nature. Like, if you are literally contributing energetically every single day to the collective ocean of consciousness and you're contributing positive, uplifting, hopeful, inspiring things, whether or not you ever say a word, that is just as big as somebody who's more vocal and more obvious. So what I would say is like, I mean, I I don't know. Again, it's like, what is this role I've played within astrology? It's also kind of what is this role that I'm playing right now in this period of change? Like, I feel a little bit like a cheerleader. Like, okay, you guys, we can do this.
Yeah.
We can do this. We came here to play. We are here, alive, incarnate, right now, in this freaking messy, messy middle. Why? Because we came here to contribute something. This isn't random that you're here at this time. So to me, it's like, let's go. Let's embrace it. Whatever it is that's yours to do it. And whatever you need to burn away in order to feel like you're worthy of that, get going on that too. And that doesn't have to look like decades and decades of therapy anymore. Like that because everything's accelerated, also the opportunity to work through some of these layers of trauma, of conditioning, of patterning. We have neuroplasticity now. We have all these different ways to actually rewire and become exactly who we are much faster than it used to take.
Yes.
You used to slog through that. And I felt like I slogged through it. I'm sure many of you feel like you slogged through it. And there always seems like there's more layers and more layers. And yes, on some level, there really is. And we have the capacity now and we have the resources now to be able to burn through that. Like, it seems like fog to me. Like the bright light in your heart is the sun. And the more you get into that center of your heart, the more you can burn away and dissipate the fog. And the more clearly you can live, and the more clearly people can feel you and understand you and connect with you. So it's this beautiful, like, reciprocal experience, really. The more you are, the more you there is to love. And the more love you have to give. It's like this reciprocal thing.
Yeah, I think, yes, I totally agree with your review of the energy of now, because I'm seeing it with the earth. So I do dowsing and earth energy healing as well.
Mm.
And when I'm doing my dowsing work, the earth is different. She's responding in a much quicker way.
Ooh.
Oh, it's like, and what I think is so important is, dowsers often, just like therapists, focus on the gook, the bad stuff, right?
Yes.
And trying to bring that out. And I'm not saying that not seeing that is wrong. But what I'm saying is, maybe turn your attention to what is abundant, what is alive and vibrant in the earth, and celebrate that.
100%. Maureen, I love that so much. And I think that's true about each and every one of us. Do you want to spotlight always on your insecurities in the places where you're weak? I'm not saying to deny them. We
Right.
all have insecurities. We all have places where we're weak. We all have places where we're stronger. But in my experience, more loving transformation is available when we elicit those aspects of ourselves that are our strengths, when we bring those forward, when we see those in other people. It's not denying that those other things are there. I'm not saying that at all, because we do need to see those things too. But those things get transformed. They can be alchemized in the energy of love, in the energy of the heart. The heart can actually become an alchemical cauldron for those things. So yes, if we're focused on all the things on the earth that are wrong, or all the things in the world that are wrong all the time, we are giving that our energy.
Right.
We are reinforcing that. If we're focused, like, I love what you're doing. And that's another thing. Maybe you're the person that's going out and talking to the trees and helping to revitalize everything with your attention, with your love, with your care, with your nurturing. Maybe that's what you're doing. That's freaking awesome. Do that, So
Right.
I love what you're reporting from the front line of someone who's been doing this for a long time, that it is different. You're experiencing it different. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have a scale, like you kind of do a before and after. And over the 20 years, say from 1 to 100, a lot of properties are 50, 60. They need really support because the energy is kind of draining.
Yeah.
Day on the land. Now I'm doing readings and I'm like, what? Again? I'm getting 80s, 90s
Wow.
before I do anything.
That is so hopeful.
It's just remarkable. And it's like everywhere, everywhere. And I do feel, and I know you probably, I don't know, did you have Stefan Burns on your,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
I watch him all the time.
I know. He's
And
so good.
it is so true. It's the connection of the plasma and the light consciousness from the sun and from all of the planets and stars. It's really this dialogue between the earth and the sun
Of course.
that's giving rise to this higher frequency of consciousness. And I love how you shared how, if you focus on the gifts and the strengths and the beauty of what you have to offer, it alchemizes in our heart those lower, lesser kind of energy things
Totally.
that we all inhabit and carry with us in our lives. So yes, it's like raising our vibrations pulls everything up.
My daughter showed me this Instagram post that this adorable college student from the University of Alabama posted. She was saying that and I'm using this as a metaphor. When she went to the University of Alabama, she has beautiful red hair like you. These beautiful big eyes, very pale, looks very Irish or something, red hair, fair skin, bright blue eyes. She said when she went to the University of Alabama, she compared herself to all of the other girls. She did not fit in with the other girls. They were all blonde. They were all, there was this aesthetic that was very uniform that she did not fit into.
Hmm.
So she started to think about, well, if I can't be like them, I will just be the best version of me. How do I be the best? How do I take what I've naturally been given, this red hair, these blue eyes, this fair skin, and amplify it and make it the best it can be? So she went through this whole thing. It was so adorable. How every day, if she walks out the door and she feels like Ariel from The Little Mermaid, she's nailed it. Because she looked at Ariel from The Little Mermaid and she goes, I'm kind of like her. I don't, and then she was talking about some of her other friends who have like, nice curvy bodies, or one of her friends who's like almost 6 foot tall, African-American supermodel. And she's like, I'm not trying to be like her. I can't be like her. I'm not trying to be the one with the curvy everything and I'm not her. So who am I and how can I be the best me? And for her, and this is, aesthetically she's talking about, but what she's talking about is much more profound because it is actually goes as far deep as you want that to go. But she goes, yeah, I at this point, the archetype I'm emulating is Ariel from The Little Mermaid. And I'm telling you, this girl was so precious and adorable in her enthusiasm to just be her, So I think that is what I'm trying to articulate when I talk about, where are we focusing? Are we focusing on all the things about ourselves that are wrong and bad? Are we focusing about each other, the earth? And can we at least balance that out with as much or more attention on what is good and what we can cultivate and what we can amplify, and both in ourselves and in each other and on the earth.
Love that. I love that, Amanda. And as you were talking, it just came to my mind about how you talk about the native people in Hawaii and that you've connected with such a beautiful community where you're doing honoring ceremonies and blessings for the land. It's seeing the beauty. It's seeing the, dialogue and relationship with the earth that really lifts it all up. It lifts everybody.
Tell another story on that
Yes,
track.
I would love it.
Okay, so when I was in New York City, I saw a picture of a young girl dancing hula on a school website here on Maui. And I saw the picture and went, oh my God, I must do that. Oh my God, I must do that with my daughters. So when I got to Hawaii, one of my first things was, how do I dance hula? Like I want, whatever this is, I want to do it. And I was 7.5 months pregnant with my daughter, Sophia, who's now almost 15. Wow. Anyways, so you don't Google hula, at least you didn't then. you have to be invited. And so I was invited by a mermaid-looking girl, actually, who after a yoga class came up to me and said, "You have hula energy. Would you like to join my Halau Hula, which is a hula school?" I was like, "Oh my God, would I ever?" Yes, I would. So anyways, I started dancing hula and I loved it. I totally fell in love. I still, to this day, love hula. And we would perform and we would do blessings and we would do these different things in different places. And I always loved dancing in beautiful places where I could see the sky and I could see the ocean and you could feel the wind and all that. Every once in a while, we'd be invited to dance somewhere that at the time I deemed yucky. So wait, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, something just popped up on my screen. How weird. Okay, sorry. There you are. So we were dancing in a high school gym.
Oh,
And I was like, "Oh God, it just doesn't feel right to dance hula in this place. It's just so ugly and I don't like it and I don't want to be dancing hula here." And I expressed this to one of my spiritual teachers at the time. And she goes, "That is the best place for you to dance hula. You are blessing that place. You are sending love into corners of that place that probably haven't received love ever. Like that is a huge gift and blessing." And I felt like, oh, I was kind of embarrassed, right? Because I was being so judgmental and bringing my judgment into that experience. But what she said really landed with me. So, of course, in a place like Hawaii, it's easy to appreciate nature. It's so beautiful and blah, blah, blah. But like wherever we are, if you're traveling, if you're in a plane, if you are in a place and it hasn't received love, that's when it needs love the most. Like that's when it needs our energy. If you live in a place where it feels like it's covered in strip malls now and it's cemented over, like how can you love that place? How can you bring love to that place? And so I just want to share that story because it's easy to do in certain places and at certain times, and then it is easy to fall into noticing everything that's wrong in other places, right? And at other times. But I think that the invitation for all of us right now is to bring it regardless and continue shining it regardless of how bad it looks on the earth and regardless of how bad it looks in the world, that we keep bringing that love to each other wherever we can.
oh, I love that. Love that story. Oh my gosh. That is just perfect. Absolutely a perfect message for everybody. So your book, Life by the Stars, is out now. And where can we purchase that?
Well, a couple places. You can buy directly from us at lifebythestars.com. When you do that, you're going to get a signed edition. You can also get a companion journal if you want and a bookmark. And it's like this little bundle that we're putting together. It's actually being shipped out of my parents' house in California.
They saw photos when you did that whole assembly line.
Yeah, like this whole assembly line. And they're like, we put it in this little package and they're taping it up and they're sending it out. So if you want to support like a direct little family operation, you can do that. I live in Hawaii, so I understand that sometimes Amazon is just easier. It's free shipping through us as well in the US. So if you do buy directly through us, we're giving you free shipping. So you can get your Amazon Prime benefit that way. But also I understand if you would rather go through Amazon or any of the major retailers, it's there too. But if you do want like the limited edition of the signed copies, the companion journal, the bookmark, if you want to have a little bit more of an intimate experience. The other thing that's great about that is I get to know who you are. When people buy through Amazon,
yes,
I don't know who they are. They're readers. They're out there. I hope they come to Life by the Stars and go down the astrology rabbit hole. And if they do, then I'll eventually know who they are. But if not, I will never know who you are. So I love knowing the readers because I get to stay in touch in a very intimate and personal way. So that to me is hopefully, if you want that, go to lifebythestars.com. And when you go to lifebythestars.com, you'll also find the option to buy from Amazon there too. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. All those links will be below for the Astrology Hub podcast, for Life by the Stars. It has been such a pleasure. I am just so grateful that you came on with us today again.
Thank you, Maureen. Me too. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the work you're doing with the earth and with your books. I just think you're doing incredible work and you're shining your light so beautifully. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I think following some of my stars.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Bliss. And bliss.
Yes. Well, the stars are showing you where your bliss is. Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Awesome. And for all of you viewers, if you'd like to, please like, comment, and subscribe and share with a friend who loves astrology too, or just loves spiritual talk. So thank you so much, everybody. Have an enchanted day.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of the Enchanted Earth podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so that you'll know when we publish another inspiring episode. Check out my book, The Enchanted Earth, available wherever online books are sold. Thank you and have a magical day.